And we're on. Hello all and welcome. How y'all doing today? Hope you're all doing good, fine, and well. So if you're wondering why there might have been a short pause there, it takes time for it to connect. So it's going through a whole process, and I'm waiting until it says actually connected. So even before it's connected, it still might be streaming, or at least before it says it's connected. So I hope you're all having a good day. I'm doing all right. Phone lines ain't open yet, but they will be soon. So in this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about the red pill, what it is, what it means, what it represents. Now, partially the reason I'd like to do this, in addition to it being something I'm very passionate about because it's philosophy, the other reason is that I was online the other day and I was posting some adverts for this show, and somebody misinterpreted the acronym TRP to mean the red pill. And I had to inform them, no, it stands for the realist philosopher. And of course I realized, yeah, okay, I can see where somebody might make that mistake, but never assume, especially where acronyms are involved. Anyway, so that got me thinking, boy, the idea of the red pill, it seems to have a almost ideological like framework built up around that simple acronym TRP. It's an idea unto itself. But I don't think people understand where it comes from. I think they believe it's something relatively new, because the gentleman who pointed this out said, gee, that's been around 15 years, that's boring to me. Boring, but I'm on a website that's all about the red pill. I didn't understand that. It's very contradictory if it bores you and it's uninteresting to you. What are you doing on a website about it? But anyway, so got me thinking, yeah, I don't think people really understand what the red pill is, its origins and such. Now, I know people think they know. That movie, The Matrix, which, by the way, was a great movie. For those of you who have been living on another planet, down the rabbit hole, or under a rock for the past 20-odd years. Jeez, how long has it been since that? What was that movie? 1999? 98, 99? Yeah, it's been 20 years. God damn. Whew. That's how you know you're old, right? Something's 20, 25 years old, and to you it's like, it's almost like it was just yesterday. You'll have to excuse me. I have a cold. Oh, man. Yikes, Karuski. All right, so for those of you not familiar with The Matrix, it was a movie where a guy named Neo, Mr. Anderson, was essentially living in a pretty much modern world, 1998, 1999. But it was all a computer simulation, right? All just make-believe, not real, although you could still die. So the movie itself, let me explain some things about the representations philosophically speaking. So the movie was about two opposing philosophies, really. Well, more like four, but they're very much interlinked. So one's kind of an offshoot of the other on both sides. Anyway, so you have realism on one side and idealism on the other. And I know you think you know the word idealism, but the philosophical school of idealism is very different than the word idealism itself. Not entirely so, though. When you're an idealist, you're hoping for, praying for the best. You use the word should a lot more than you oughta, or you should, meaning how you believe things should be, how you abstractly conceive things, how they should be as opposed to how they are. Idealism is broken down pretty much a belief that the mind is paramount over objective reality, that everything we see, everything we touch, everything we smell, taste is all just some kind of illusion. It's not real. Reality is not real. The only thing that's real is your mind and your ability to perceive, and perception in and of itself is reality. So that's idealism in a nutshell, and from that you get solipsism, all right, which is an offshoot of idealism, and solipsism is much more specific in what it says about what reality is and what reality is not. And hard solipsism, which was what you had in The Matrix, is this belief that, brains in a jar, right? Like the real you is somewhere else, a brain in a vat or in the case of the Matrix, a body in a vat of goo, and your consciousness and perceptions are being essentially, you can look at it both ways, fed into you, or your essentially perceptions are being beamed into the Matrix or this shared reality. But though it's shared, that doesn't make it any more real from the view of a solipsist. So that's hard solipsism. Reality's not real. We're just brains in a jar somewhere, bodies in a tub of goo. That's solipsism, all right? Now, on the other side, you have realism and materialism. So realism is not that really difficult to understand if you just look at the foundational principles. What's real is real, and what's not real is not real. Nothing that is unreal can exist. Only that which is real exists. Pretty simple, right? So you have these two philosophies battling it out in the form of Neo and Agent Smith? Excuse me. Of course, they use the name Smith because that's the most common name in the world. By the way, it comes from Smithy. It comes from people who... Now, this is something people may or may not know. A lot of people may know it, a lot may not. But people in the past took the last name of what profession they were. So they could be easily identified by their trade, made it a lot easier for people to know what they did and avail themselves of their services. So, John Smith, you're a Smith. Of course, today it doesn't mean that at all. It's just a name. But it's a very common name. I believe the most common name in the Western world, last I heard. So, yeah, it's this battle between these two philosophies. And, as you saw from the movie, it was a stalemate. Neither one, right? From that crappy third one with that fucking architect in that white suit looked like fucking Colonel Sanders. Are you fucking kidding me? Who out there was disappointed by that fucking movie? Was it the Wachowski brothers or whatever their weird fucking name is? What nationality are they? Jesus Christ. What a horrible movie. The second was not bad because it had some good martial arts choreography, and Keanu Reeves did a decent job with the kung fu and the hand-to-hand combat because he'd been training a lot and training very hard. And now, 21 years later, he's actually quite skilled in a number of different martial arts disciplines, as you see from the John Wick movies. But that fucking architect, gobbledygook nonsense, sounds like Jordan Peterson hyped up on fucking laughing gas. That fucking guy, I mean, Jesus Christ. Incomprehensible. Word salad gibberish, right? Horrible. Vis-a-vis. Motherfucker used that word vis-a-vis a lot, didn't he? Remember? Vis-a-vis. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, architect. You could maybe build a good case of hemorrhoids, if you were real, of course, old man, just sitting there for eternity, but he's not real. It would be digital hemorrhoids. But anyway, so yeah, that's the where people think that the idea of the red pill came from. But red pill is realism, materialism. It's based on those philosophical schools. And there's a number of different subsets of these schools, which I'll talk about at another time. It's way too in-depth to get into, and I think too involved. All you need to really understand at this point is that the red pill itself is just a synonym for realism. Philosophical realism. So when this guy said to me, "Yeah, I've been hearing it for 15 years. Nah, it's boring to me." Not 15 years, pal. Try 1,500 years. Try 2,500 years, okay? Try Aristotle. Try, I gotta love it. Try going back to the ancient Greek philosophers, okay? Epicurean. I don't know. It's... All right, so, this guy, uninformed, doesn't really... know what he's speaking of. I'm not going to get into too much of the back history going back 2,500 years. We've got, an hour. So, yeah, that's the source, all right? That's the real source. They based it on philosophical realism. The idea of the red pill was not created by these Wachowski brothers, however the fuck you pronounce their name, just like the Jedi philosophy wasn't created by fucking George Lucas with that little fucking green hand puppet Yoda. Fuck. I gotta remember to turn the autofocus off on this motherfucker. This gets on my nerves. Maybe get a fucking new webcam. And by the way, you guys out there, if you'd like to donate to my channel, that's the kind of stuff that your donations go toward, okay? Improving equipment. And what I eventually want to do, before I go on more about the red pill, my plans are ambitious, okay? I want to start a men's radio station for men, the kind of content that men like. It would be 24/7 because, well, these radio stations online, they're 24/7 content, right? And I want to find other talent. I want to recruit other talent. I want to find people who have a good, strong message to send, who are interesting to listen to. So it's a great opportunity for some people, but it's not cheap. It's not cheap. I don't know why it's not cheap. I don't know how the software works. I don't know how it's different than putting a live stream on YouTube, but apparently it's different. I don't know. I guess it has to do with the platform. You can listen anywhere. I guess there's like, I don't know, there's shit you can carry where you listen to online radio stations while you're jogging and shit. I guess your phone, right? I don't know. I'm not up on these apps these days, but apparently it's got a lot wider reach in regards to devices and such. So, yeah. Although I still think it's way too expensive. But what are you going to do? That's reality, right? You can't buck reality. So, that's the kind of stuff your donations go towards. So if you'd like, then I think it would be a big help. Give men entertainment, lots of red pills, lots of education. Now, when I use the word red pills, what do I mean? I'm talking about knowledge. I'm talking about making people awake and aware to reality. Now, I don't know what other people are talking about, okay? They want to use this label, right? I want to use it however I want, but even from the movie, it's not based on what you think it's based on. What was it based on in the movie? So you had the two fucking, you can't see both hands. There you go. He had the two hands, and Morpheus holds out the one hand with the fucking blue pill, right? If you take this pill, you'll wake up at home, rested, and feeling fine, and you won't remember any of this. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good, man. Yeah, you just forget all this shit and go back to my old life. But if you take this red pill, you'll wake up in the real world. Ooh. So the implication being that society has become far too inundated with idealism, with solipsism, with a belief that reality isn't real, that perception is reality, which means that the mind is paramount and the objective world is secondary or comes from the mind. Yeah. If you weren't there to hear a tree fall, did it make a sound? Yeah, it did, dumbass. Yeah, trust me, it made a sound. How about a camera there and, a fucking recording device? Oh, but if the recording device was out there, you don't know if it would make a sound. Get the fuck out of here with your bullshit. I hate that shit. So stupid. A lot of dummies trying to sound clever, questioning the nature and the basis, foundation of objective reality. I don't think there's such a thing as objective reality. Perception is reality. You morons. So, and as the main focus of my philosophy is all about reality. So that's the red pill, is becoming awake, becoming aware, becoming as awake and aware as possible. That's why you hear some people say that this guy's more red-pilled than that that person. What they're saying is, maybe without even knowing it, because they're probably talking about a very limited area of reality, say the relations between men and women. Well, yeah, I mean, that's an important area of reality, because if men and women ain't having relations, you ain't existing, right? But that's just one tiny aspect, really very important, because without that, we don't exist in the first place. But I guarantee you, even if we didn't exist, the world still would. You'd still have chimpanzees swinging from the fucking trees and giraffes running around with their long fucking necks eating leaves off of really high fucking branches, okay? All that shit would still be happening. Oh, but what if none of that stuff that could perceive existed? Would the world still be here? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Charlie. Yeah. So I don't know what you mean by reality, or when people start talking about such things as red pill content. I saw a comment from somebody that said that I watched the realist philosopher stuff, like one episode of my show. He wasn't talking about red pill content. Wait, what? So this is somebody that, again, doesn't know the actual origins of the red pill or what it really represents. Did you see the movie The Matrix? It's just becoming awake and aware to the reality of the situation. But it's not limited, again, it's not limited to relations between men and women. It's the entire fucking world. So that's why I am very much a red pill content producer, because all I talk about is reality, and all I do is try to red pill people, meaning awaken them to the nature of reality, what's going on, as opposed to what they're presented with as being what's going on, the propaganda, the bullshit that they're fed day after day after day that isn't true. You want to see the truth? Got to red pill yourself, right? Got to get a little education, and I think logically, critically, reasonably. Then you'll start to see reality, and that's the red pill. But it's not just something you could... That was symbolic, okay? You're swallowing that fucking pill. If only it was that easy. I wish you just take that fucking pill and... Whoa! I see reality for the first time. Nah, it's not that easy. Oh, boy, do I wish it was. Nah, take some time. But I want it to take less time for you guys than it did for me. So that's why I do this show. I try to awaken people, make them aware to the nature of reality and how the real world works. And while you may think you know how it works, you may actually not. Okay, so that is why I suggest you listen to as much of my content as possible, which is good for me, of course, but it's also good for you. Excuse me. Don't have my normal vocal range because of this fucking cold. Ay vey. Probably need to get vaccinated. It's been ages since I have. That might have something to do with it. All right, so, yeah, that's the red pill in a nutshell. Now, I know some of you think that the idea of red pilled only exists within the context of subjects that are, quote-unquote, MGTOW, men going their own way, that kind of thing. But no, absolutely not. Because what you have to understand is that a lot of this shit is connected. The push for globalism, the left's relativism. You can be a man, you can be a woman, you can be a pygmy transsexual dwarf even though you're 6'2". This is all a solipsistic, idealistic, relativistic push, postmodernism, pushing into the world, trying to expand and infect everybody's mind. And that's not reality at all. Not reality at all. But it's a good way to make your mind suggestible, manipulatable. You become very, very susceptible to input when you see reality is not actually being real. It's all about perception, and essentially, there's no such thing as objective reality. It's all about point of view, and I don't seem to realize that perception is not an output mechanism. It's only an input mechanism. I think it goes both ways, and my perception is therefore creating the reality that I'm perceiving. That's circular, of course, but I don't see that. It's so stupid. But, if you can't think logically, critically, reasonably, if you have an ideological framework that you have been programmed to use as your way of coming to answers and conclusions, then you can't think for yourself. So, these obvious circular arguments and other contradictions, they won't be at all obvious to you. You won't see them at all, which is kind of the whole point, really. And that's where I come in. I am a warrior. I am an enemy, a stalwart enemy of leftism, idealism, relativism, moral relativism, whatever ism you got that's relativistic, I don't like it. Idealism either. Don't give me your it should be this way, should be that way. And sometimes that should is actually true, but only if it comports with objective reality, not with your conceptions, not with your abstract ideas of how you think reality ought to be. And of course you might say, well, how do you differentiate between the two? By understanding how reality works. Then you'll be able to separate that which is abstract and separate from reality from that which is implementable and matches objective reality. Okay, I think I've rambled on enough. So let's open up the phone line, see who pops up. Okay, turn on Skype. Anybody out there that wants to talk? So some shows, I will open up the phone lines immediately. Other shows, I'll tell you they're not open yet. It just all depends on what I'm talking about. So what do you think about my view of red pill? Of course, if you're ideologically polarized, ideologically charged in regards to the name, the synonym for what is just a synonym for realism, philosophical realism, then you might disagree with me. Or maybe you agree with me. Maybe you'd like to give me your thoughts on what I just said. Maybe you'd like to tell me you love me. Maybe you'd like to tell me you hate me. Whatever. Feel free to call in or Skype. The number is 623-242-2517. That's 623-242-2517. That is in the continental United States. I'm not in the continental United States, but it turns out you can get numbers now. You could be living in fucking Russia and you get an American number people can contact you on. So that's pretty good. Gotta love the incessant march of technology. Also, if you're not in the continental United States and you don't have like one of those cell phone plans, the majority of which give you free minutes in the continental U.S., you can Skype me. Absolutely free. I mean, minus the money it costs to pay for the electricity for your computer, of course. And my Skype name is The Realist Philosopher. You just, type in The Realist Philosopher, no spaces, and then you can Skype with me. Now, I like to have guests on this show. It's called a call-in show, of course, but I like to schedule those guests beforehand so that I can talk with them. And I'm going to write up of course, it depends on what you want to talk about. Sometimes it won't be necessary. But I'm going to write up like a questionnaire, a bunch of pre-show questions that I need some answers to. And depending on how you answer, that'll steer where the conversation goes. And, if you need help with an issue, excuse me, you want to explore a subject more in-depthly, whatever, it's probably going to be useful to get a philosopher's take on it, okay? Not those ivory tower intellectual pinheads who can just sit around pontificating about the nature of existence and the mysteries of life and why are we here bullshit, questions that have no answers. Now, I focus on that which is practical, which is why my school of philosophy is called practical realism. So if you'd like to get my advice, like to get my input on whatever issue you'd like to get someone's input on, you can send me an email at admin@therealistphilosopher.com. That's admin@therealistphilosopher.com. The email is up in the right upper right-hand corner of the screen, as you can see. And I also have a website, therealistphilosopher.com. If you'd like to donate, go to therealistphilosopher.com/donate. That's therealistphilosopher.com/donate. The more donations you make, the better for, not really better for me because all the money goes into producing this show, but the better for you because then it'll allow me to expand, and that's good for all men. So, therealistphilosopher.com/donate. All right. Now, let's talk about something else, shall we? Let me see here. I should have been prepared, I know. I can't control when I get home, This is the earliest I can do it for you guys. That's just how it works. There we go. All right. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this stuff yesterday, but I got into a conversation with some guy, so, on air, which I since deleted. Oh, we have a call. I don't know who because I just... okay, let me bring up Skype. Hello.
Hello, sir, philosopher.
Hello, Sithanet. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
So, what can I do for you?
I had an interesting subject about how women, when they are young, they cannot choose the man, the right man, because it is normally for the father to choose the right man.
It's interesting. I heard this, and I know that kind of used to be the case in some countries, and the father would essentially, there would be like a dowry and shit, and Yeah, is that still the case anywhere? I mean, maybe in Middle Eastern countries, I think. They try to sell their daughters to some dudes. I remember this one story. Some guy, Egyptian, living in America, he tried to sell his 2 daughters to some dudes back in Egypt, and they didn't want to go, so he killed them. And then he disappeared into Egypt. So, yeah, those are real enlightened people we're bringing in from the third world, huh? Yeah, some real geniuses that have really high moral standards. But anyway, okay, go on.
Like 100 years ago, it used to be the case in Europe and America. Fathers used to find the right man for their daughters in order for them to pair bond, and they were virgins, of course.
Of course. I mean, there was a stigma back then against marriage, sex before marriage, so that's gone, right? Thanks to feminism.
Well, the daughters that were not virgin when they're young, they will become like prostitutes, or they will have to, live alone, of course.
Right. I mean, people had higher standards 100 years ago. If a woman was not a virgin, no man would want her. I mean, maybe the guy with Down syndrome that worked as a shoemaker. He hammered little nails into the bottoms of the shoes back then. That was about all he could do. Maybe he could get her. Maybe he'd want her. But, yeah, nobody else wanted her, right? Because she's used. Used goods, used Kleenex. I blow my nose, I throw it in the trash can. It's used. Nobody wants that. I don't think women realize that nobody wants that now either. Not for a wife, which of course explains why since 1970 marriage has gone down, actually, even though the population has doubled. Isn't that crazy when you think about it? People don't look at these numbers. They're like, the same amount of people are getting married. There's no problem with marriage. Really? Well, if you look at the numbers in 1970 and the numbers today, it's actually going down. But the population has doubled, so shouldn't the number of marriages doubled? Well, yeah, but they haven't. They've actually gone down. It's crazy. Below what they were in 1970. So that's because of feminism, right? Because all these women are liberated women, right? I don't know what they're being liberated from. That's like implying that they were slaves, right? I hate that word liberated because where were these women slaves? They're slaves in the Middle East. They got to walk around with giant garbage bags on their heads and little eye slits like a fucking ninja running around trying to break into somebody's house in the middle of the night and assassinate them. They dress up like ninjas. It must be hot, by the way, too. Can you imagine how hot that fucking burqa is? You're walking around in this big fucking head-to-toe black robe in the middle of a fucking desert. Fuck me, man. I can't believe these women don't get heat stroke and die. I mean, Jesus Christ, they talk about cruel punishment. Those are slaves. If they get freedom, that's because they're slaves. But what is it with Western women and this, I'm a liberated woman? Why doesn't anybody question that? Could somebody explain that to me? Why do you, like 18-year-old girls today that were born in 2001, what the fuck you talking about? You're liberated. When were you a slave? Never. You've never had to clean a dish. You've never had to wash a floor. And by the way, what the fuck does washing a floor and a dish have to do with slavery? I didn't know these were synonymous. That the man goes to work all day. He slaves away. Is he a slave? Well, yeah, maybe. If you want to talk about who's a slave, it's more the man than the wayman, okay? He's got no choice, all right? He's got to pay those taxes or he's going to debtor's prison, all right? What does she have to do? Find a new man. Find a new man. Woo-hoo. How many homeless women are you seeing out there? I don't see them. They can trade poon for a roof over their heads. I don't understand this I'm liberated shit. You were never a prisoner in the first place. Bullshit. But, go ahead.
I have watched. I've got some infos about Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla used to say, like 100 years ago, that women were already behaving like men. 100 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, saying that.
Yeah, feminism started its work early on in the mid 1800s. The ugly broads that couldn't find husbands, they just sat around and read books all day from Europe. and about how fashionable it was to be a feminista and all this bullshit. Yes, liberated women from France, and they'd come over from Europe to America and bring these toxic ideas with them. And, you know, the old cat ladies back then ate it up, right? They ate it up because, you know, they felt discarded. They felt, oh, there's something, there's not me. Right? I mean, you know, women have always been this way. They've always had a problem with accepting responsibility. They've always had a problem with accountability. So you've got these old spinsters back in the 1830s, 1840s, 1850s who lived with their parents until their parents died, because that was how it was, right? You didn't move out of your parents' home until you got married. And so if you never got married, you'd live with mom and dad until they died. And, you know, people didn't live so long back then, so she would inherit the house, and she'd be an old cat lady sitting around spinning yarn on a fucking loom or whatever the hell they use. And that's why they called them spinsters, right? She had all day just to spin fucking yarn, and that's how she made a fucking living, right? Spinning the cloth, the thread that, you know, later on factories would do, but the thread that was needed to make clothing back then. And oftentimes they made clothes and had their own loom. They had to support themselves, right? And one of the jobs that they were very good at doing, because back in those days you didn't have large manufacturing plants, large factories to produce clothes. So people made all the cloth on looms, and they spun their own thread, and they used that thread to make cloth. So that was what a lot of these women did. They couldn't find husbands, so they had to find a way to make some money. And because throughout history women have been taught how to spin thread, they were called spinsters, because that's what the majority of them did. Those were the skills that they had that would allow them to make a living. Most people don't know this, but that's the origin of the term spinster. Yeah, because they grow old spinning cloth, because no man would pay for them because they were fat, ugly, whatever.
Or they will be nannies too. They could be nannies too.
That was another job they could do, but their professions were very limited at that point, for a good reason, right? Women were like, well, men were trying to keep us out and oppress us. They didn't want us to be free. Well, you know, there were a lot of fucking diseases in the world, ladies, and women had to have 5, 6, 7, 8 kids for any of them to be likely to survive into adulthood. If you had 6, 7 kids, you'd be lucky if 2 or 3 made it. So it was kind of important that you had kids and raised them to enable humanity to continue. So it wasn't actually us that was keeping you bound to the house. It was reality. Oh, but it's man's fault. Yeah, I create reality. Somehow, of course, this is why they're all solipsists and idealists. They want to believe that everything is a social construct, and it's men that constructed all that to oppress women. Yeah. I always find it interesting. If masculinity is so toxic, why exactly, could you explain this to me, why exactly would men, see this thing I don't get, we're the ones, if you listen to women, who have created everything. All these stereotypes, male behavior, female behavior. It's all a social construct created by the patriarchy, which they can't identify. It's all men, all men. Okay, it's not like some council sitting somewhere making decisions. No. It's interesting. But anyway, they call it the patriarchy, but they can't identify it. Yeah, they never think about that, of course. But if masculinity is so toxic, why would we, the creators of masculinity, create and then assign a set of behaviors to ourselves that's toxic?
They cannot respond. They cannot give any answer because, well, they don't have any logic or reason to think about it. That's why.
Right. I mean, it makes no sense. And meanwhile, the way I just saw this message on Facebook, which is hilarious. This woman was trying to explain the idea of toxic masculinity and why there's no such thing as toxic femininity. And I was like, wait a second. So you're telling me toxic masculinity is real, but femininity, and then she said, if women do act toxic, it's because they're acting like men. And they're doing what men have programmed them to do. Oh, that's real convenient, honey. That's real convenient for you. I love it. So if men do something wrong, it's men's fault. If women act like what you call male behavior, if they act out what you call male behavior, meaning violence, she said violence is male behavior. It's not rooted in female behavior. Really? Have you seen lesbian couples? They've got like the highest domestic violence rates in the fucking world. They beat the shit out of each other on a regular basis. It seems like all these lesbos are into BDSM or something. I don't know. But they like to use each other as fucking punching bags ad infinitum every fucking day. How you doing, honey? Pow! Shut up, bitch! You're a bitch too! Fuck you! You called me a bitch! Pow! They love to hit each other, these lesbo couples, but somehow that's men's fault. They have internalized misogyny. Right. Internalized misogyny. So even when women act out and are violent, that's not toxic femininity. That's just women internalizing their own hate for themselves and they're acting out male behavior. But so when are women ever responsible for anything then? Oh, never. What? Well, I can't talk to you, lady. You're unreasonable. Oh, my God.
They are children. Women are children. They have 10% less gray matter than men. So that's... They cannot understand reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I saw another tweet from some broad who said that women are superior because not only can they have the kids, but they raise the kids as well. And men can't do that. It's like, well, that's just some arbitrary standards. That means nothing. That's sophistry. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Well, men can lift more than you, and we can run faster, and we can do everything else better. And by the way, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't even be able to exist to do that childbearing and child rearing. So by your own logic, lady, we are superior to you. So don't give me this bullshit. It's so stupid. We're differently gifted.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I have seen some studies that said that after the age of 5, the kids, they need the man, the father, in order to grow up to be a significant adult.
Right. Well, you need input from, of course, it helps to have both parents, obviously. I've seen some studies that talk about, now, granted, it's not a large enough a test pool because women get the fucking custody most of the time. But some studies have actually looked at the outcomes of kids raised by single fathers and found that their life outcomes are in no way different than those of kids that come from two-parent households. Meanwhile, all the studies done on, single mother households, which of course is a much larger sample size, show that they're far more likely to be drug addicts, alcoholics, criminals, murderers, you name it. No, the sample sizes are not the same, but you could argue that. But just from what little data we have about single fathers, it seems that men have the ability to raise stable, functional adults much better than women do.
Yeah, it's because men have logic and reason that women will never have in 1,000 years.
Right. Now, of course, it's optimal if you had, like, two parents and the mother wasn't like a feminist cunt, right? And, actually acted like a woman and did what was the very important job. I find it very interesting that, you've got the most important job in the world, right? You're creating life. You are empowering the next generation with life. You're taking care of these kids. You're raising the next generation of human beings. You're literally continuing the human race, and men are enabling you to do that. So you both complement each other. Why would you think that's somehow an inferior position in life, in society? Like you're somehow not fulfilling your potential because you're not in some office clicking away on a fucking keyboard 8 hours a day and shuffling papers around. And really, you just got the job because of affirmative action, and the man is doing 5 times the amount of work you are, and you're just there to justify some fucking quota. And now, because of that, you're going to have no kids, no husband, and you're going to grow old with cats, right? And because you're not a man, you can't really deal with the solitude very well. There's a reason lone wolves are generally men and not women. And yes, men and women are different. I know you ladies don't want to hear that. I know you don't want to hear that you can't really deal with solitude and being alone very well, while men can, because we have logic, we have reason, so we can use those tools to find meaning in our lives where you cannot, because you're just too emotional. I know you don't want to hear that, ladies, but that's the truth.
In fact, I can make the argument that women that are single with no kids, they're just a waste of humanity, just a waste of resources.
To a certain extent. Because we do know that 85% of tax revenue 85% of welfare is used by women. It's women, black women, white women. They're a negative. They're a drain on the public coffers. When men die, they're either, at zero, they haven't taken out more than they used, or they're a net positive. They put in more than they used. But by and large, women take out something like $150,000 by the time they're dead. That they sucked out of the system. Of course, you can't get it out of them because you can't squeeze blood out of a fucking stone or a corpse. I mean, I guess you could out of a fucking corpse. I don't know. It depends on how old the fucker is. But, dead people don't tend to pay back debts, right? So, yeah, it would be much better for the system if women got a husband, stayed at home, and then you wouldn't have that huge financial drain year after year that ends up with $150,000 per woman being sucked out of the system before they die with no kids and a lot of cats who eat them because they're laying in that house dead for 2 or 3 months and the cats have no fucking cat food, right? And they're not that smart. They can't fucking open up the fucking drawers and the fucking cabinets and get at the cat food. So, they eat mommy because, she's stinking and it's obvious she's dead. So, and that's happened quite a few times where some old spinster has died and the neighbors got hint of a smell after a few months and then they went into the house and there were 100 cats and, they were all nice and fat because they ate the fat old lady.
Well, that's impossible because women have been empowered by the system and men have no balls. So they will not take away the power of women.
Right.
From the government.
Yeah, it's very sad, very sad. So what you were saying about the father, now, I don't know. I do know that in the West, especially in America, sometimes the parents would, make a match. But usually it would be, she meets a boy. Well, maybe it's 50-50, I don't know. But oftentimes she'd meet a boy, then the father would have to approve of him or not. And if the father didn't approve, then they couldn't get married. And of course, a lot of the time, the father would have a say. He's older, he's wiser, and he wants to get the best match because it's not like today. Like you can just marry some bum, right? Just marry some bum, fucking drummer, guitar player. He's so dreamy. Yeah, well, can he pay the bills? He just makes my loins ache. Yeah, well, that's great, honey. Great. Can he pay the fucking bills? And if you get pregnant, is he going to stick around, right? Once you squeeze out a couple puppies, is he going to still want to, have access to what you've got, which ain't so pristine anymore? I don't think so. So these women, yeah, I know that the father had a lot more to do with the girl choosing the right man before. It wasn't just left up to her, right? The parents had a lot to say. I mean, they had the final word, right?
That's what I thought about that man that called you yesterday. He should teach his daughter to be virtuous, to find a good man, but he doesn't want to. He wants to cherish them.
Well, he was afraid.
The way a father should educate his daughters.
Well, I don't know if you heard the interview. I removed it because I just felt it wasn't that useful at all. The guy was just, it didn't go anywhere. There was a lot of pushback. He didn't really want to go down the avenue I wanted to go down. I wanted to try and get the guy to see that, okay, you're having the problems you're having now because of your own past. And until you sort out and deal with and come to fully understand, meaning be red-pilled to your own history and why it made you the way you are, you're not going to be able to effectively red pill your daughters. You're not going to be able to effectively teach them what they need to learn because you haven't really come to terms with why you are the way you are, why you're in this situation, why you got 3 daughters, no wife, had these kids out of wedlock, had this very, very dysfunctional early life. And it sounds like he's got his shit together now, but that's in his work life. It doesn't sound like in his personal life he has his shit together too well, and he's certainly not that red-pilled. So how are you going to red-pill them when you're not red-pilled? I'm going to teach you to... Yeah, I mean, how can I teach you to draw if I can't draw? Well, I don't know how to draw, but I'll teach you how to draw. What?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Let's go... I'll teach you how to drive. Do you know how to drive? Nah, I don't know how to drive.
Like a fatty.
Yeah, it makes no sense. So I was trying to get this guy to be aware of what I thought was, to me, is very simple. Maybe not so much to him, but, and again, not everybody can be a philosopher and understand these things so easily, but I was trying to get him to see that, and he just was just a lot of resistance. And it just, so, I decided not to post it. But, yeah, nice enough guy, but very traumatic history. That he didn't really seem to want to delve too much into. And that's unfortunate because, he's like, I want to deal with this. I want to, solve the problem with my kids. Well, the problem with your kids is directly linked to your own problems. He was like, I don't want to come across as an angry white man. Do you remember? He said he was afraid to have a frank conversation with them. And I was thinking to myself, they're your kids. You can't be honest with your kids and have a meaningful, deep conversation with them? I mean, is there a connection? Do you have a connection with these kids? I mean, they're your children, and you're afraid to talk truth to them? Are you kidding me? I mean, your relationship with your kids sounds extremely dysfunctional. Maybe you might want to deal with that, and maybe you might want to deal with the causes of that dysfunction. No, I don't want to deal with it. Sorry, just give me some advice on how to red pill them and make them aware of the realities of how evil feminism is. You can't even communicate with them. You have a dysfunctional relationship. Might that be something you might want to fix? Nah, I might have to look too closely at myself. I don't want to deal with my issues. That's too much. There's no half measures. There's no half measures in reality. There's no half measures in dealing with these kind of dysfunctional relationships. You either deal with them and fix the problem, or it comes back, right? That's like taking a fucking piece of gum. Oh, there's a crack in that pipe. I'm going to be fucking MacGyver. I'm going to MacGyver it. Just stick the fucking gum on the crack. It's not leaking anymore. Yeah, but in a few days, the fucking gum will fall off and the problem's not fixed. Well, it's fine. It's fixed for now. I don't get it. What is with this Band-Aid mentality? I don't want to deal with these harsh realities. Let's just let the dysfunctional relationship remain so that when I'm 80 fucking years old, I don't talk to my kids, I don't talk to my grandkids. What? Why do you have kids then?
That's why Western civilization is going to disappear, because men like him, they do nothing to change it.
Right.
They are passive.
Yes,
they're like women.
And he thinks he's red-pilled. And that's the scary part, and that's the thing I was trying to wake him up to. And I'm not trying to be mean to you, John. That's not his name, but what the fuck? So I'm not trying to be mean to you or judgmental or anything. I'm trying to wake you up, because he's probably watching or listening, or he will be. I'm trying to wake you up, John, and make you aware of some very clear facts. You're in denial about some things. You're deluded about others. You're not that awake and aware of reality and the dysfunction that's going on in your own life. And until you become awake and aware of these things, I mean, how can you fix something if you're not aware of it? I'm gonna fix my car. Where's your car? I don't know. It's not here. Oh, it's invisible. Well, what the fuck? You can't see it or access it. It's you can't perceive the fucking thing. How are you gonna fix it? Fix what? What? I'm not aware of a car. Oh, I forgot. So how can you fix something you're not aware of? How can you fix something that you don't know is a problem? I don't get it. I mean, never mind. I could just go on and on. It's so frustrating to talk to somebody like that, because I could really help this guy if he was just more willing to communicate with me. But, and maybe it's partly my fault. I should have... like I said in the comment section of the last video, I think I'm going to write up like a questionnaire of questions that are pertinent. And, depending on how they answer, we might have a broader, more in-depth conversation. If they answer in the negative to a lot of stuff, then, and the problem's not connected to something in their past or in their history, then it could be a much more focused in the now and the present conversation. But generally speaking, these type of problems have some kind of root cause in the past, in the person's history. I don't think people realize that too much, or if they do, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. Well, if you can't deal with discomfort, how are you going to fix a problem? I don't understand this. Most problems that need to be fixed in relationships and life are not easy fixes. You see, people want easy fixes, right? They want something that's self-help guru bullshit. Give me an answer, realist philosopher. Ooh, thank you. Little fucking soundbite, and then their life is fixed. Give me a life hack, realist philosopher, and then I'll just fix the problem like that. Give me a life hack for how to lose weight. I can just be thin tomorrow. Well, it's not that easy. It's going to take about a year or two, and because you're a blob, and you're going to have to diet and exercise. It's really, really fucking hard. I don't know I want to do that. I think I'll go listen to somebody else, because you're not telling me things I want to hear. I'm just telling you the truth. What do you want from me? I don't like the truth. It's uncomfortable. Oh, I see. Yeah. That's the problem, really. A lot of guys running around thinking they're more alpha and they're really beta, because an alpha male isn't afraid to face the truth. Or if he has fear, he overcomes it with courage and faces the truth anyway.
I'll say that beta male are just women in disguise. That's all.
Yeah, they got cocks, but otherwise, they have the mentality of a woman to a certain extent. And some of the things he was saying were very feminine, and I was just like, I don't know if I can help this guy. So, again, nice guy, but I tried in my response video later. I tried to, put across the idea that essentially feminism has infected his life, and it still has a hold on him in his life even today. He didn't realize it. What do you mean? He says he's afraid to talk to his... First of all, I don't understand. What is this angry white man bullshit? I mean, granted, I've been overseas for a long fucking time, and this shit didn't seem to become prominent until Mr. Obama became president, right? All this identity politics bullshit and race-baiting nonsense. But, what was this angry white guy? What's wrong with being angry and white? Any idea? I mean, you're going to become Hitler? You're going to become Hitler?
Hitler, a fascist. That's why.
So angry white people equals Nazis.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's affected by cultural Marxism.
Yeah. That's another thing I'm trying to get across. I mean, I talked at the start of the show about the red pill and about how essentially all these things are connected in that many of them are either cultural Marxism or postmodernism, which is a mix of idealism, relativism, solipsism, and nihilism, not to mention a belief seeing the world through a lens of power. And so these things mixed together, postmodernism and cultural Marxism, that's mainly what the left is all about. And that's mainly what feminism is all about. Feminism is cultural Marxism. So when I talk about other issues in politics or other areas of society and social commentary that aren't directly about the relationships between men and women, people will say, oh, well, he's not talking about red pill stuff. No, it's all red-pilled. It's all connected. Don't you see? You have to broaden your horizons and open your mind and see that there's a lot more going on than just the symptom that is the breakdown of communications and stable relationships between men and women. That's a symptom, okay, of a much greater and evil cause that you need to be looking at. You have to open your mind and stop looking at red pill as just this very limited, narrow subject. Okay, I'm trying to wake people up to that fact, but a lot of people just want to stay stuck in this narrow little niche. I just want to talk about this content. Men going their own way and the red pill, and I want to focus on that, and I don't want to talk about anything else. And they listen to the same shit regurgitated again and again and again. And I think you know the content producers I'm talking about. There's certain people who produce contents just the same bullshit again and again and again, and they don't talk about anything else when it's all connected.
Well, some of them are being I've been talking about that feminism is a new religion. It has replaced Christianity. And I think they are right about that.
Well, yeah, but they have to understand is it's leftism that is the religion. And that feminism is an aspect of leftism, which has also become intersectional. Right? That's why you'll never hear feminists say bad things about Muslims and gay people, okay, and trans, because they're all coming together as allies in the fight against the evil colonial power that is America. So they're all, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, some bullshit like that. I mean, you know, okay, yeah, sure, Muslims are bad for feminists, bad for women in general, but they see the bigger enemy as the patriarchy. The patriarchy is the bigger enemy. The white man is the bigger enemy right now. They don't, you know, look past the fact that the biggest patriarchy in the world is in Muslim countries. And these fucking guys, these Muslim guys, they are really, really dangerous to you women. But they're so focused, they're so myopically focused on just Western colonial imperialism and how evil capitalism is that, okay, yeah, we'll deal with that later. Right now, this is a bigger problem. The evil patriarchal Muslim, that's secondary, all right? And by the way, they're our ally. They're helping us out, right? As they throw gay people off roofs in Iran. Yeah.
It's because Muslims, they are envious of white people because we built everything. That's why.
That's true. That's why they hate us. And that's, by the way, why women, to a large extent, hate us as well. Because the truth of the matter is, men, especially white men, up until like 1955, had invented 98% of every motherfucking invention out there. By the way, the majority of inventions that we created were labor-saving devices to help women. The very first things we created and invented in the modern industrial age were devices to help women and make their lives easier. Do we get any thanks? Yeah. No, it used to be, back even 150 years ago, it used to take 3 days to wash clothes. The woman would have a wash day, and it would maybe start on Wednesday, and it wouldn't end until fucking Saturday. They had to have this little brick of blue fucking chalk, this weird blue shit, that they would use to wash the whites, because when you mixed the blue with the white material, it made the white material more white, and the contrast of the white, you know, starker and brighter. They had to go through this whole fucking process with all these fucking caustic chemicals. It took days. Half their week was washing fucking clothes. And then some guy came along and said, hey, look, I got I got this thing, and I'm going to spin it, and it's going to agitate this big fucking wooden tub that closes, and it's going to agitate the clothes. You don't have to have that fucking ridged board anymore all fucking day rubbing the fucking clothes on it or smacking it on a fucking rock. Right? I mean, men, everything they did was try and serve women and make women's lives easier. That was, I mean, until recent history. And even now, all these white knights running around, somehow we oppress them. But we're the enemy, right? I mean, it's absurd. Nobody has been kinder to women than white men. Nobody.
Yeah.
Go to Africa. Jesus Christ, these poor women living in these little fucking huts, getting eaten alive by fucking mosquitoes, living in these shit wattle huts, all this woven together wattle, and they mix together dirt and shit and smack it on the fucking wall. And that's what they're fucking living in, climbing up trees to get bananas and shit to survive. What a horrible existence. A lifespan of 40 years, maybe, as they grunge around in the muck looking for gold, sucking up arsenic fumes and shit. Yeah, that's great life. Great life. Yeah, those women have it made in the shade. Why don't you go live in Africa then, ladies? If you like Muslims so much, go live in Iran or Libya, where they got open-air fucking slave markets. Yeah, you imagine a white woman going to visit Libya. They'll grab her off the fucking plane and sell her for $1,000 at the local slave market.
Have you heard the story about two Swedish women that went to Morocco and they were killed?
Yes, I heard about it.
What happened?
Oh yeah, it's a Muslim country. What do you expect? Yeah, I heard about a lot of these stories. Like I heard about that one couple, I think from Washington, and they took a year off to ride their bikes around the fucking world. Yeah, ladies, you're so oppressed. You can take a year off work and ride your fucking bikes around. Fuck me. I can't take a day off. They're taking a year. So, and they got run off the road and stabbed to death by a bunch of ISIS sympathizers who later posted pictures of themselves online. Geniuses, these guys. They go murder 4 people and then put their pictures online. Yeah, you're high IQ. And, I mean, what are you still going to these countries for? We want to prove that people aren't evil. It's just all a social construct. Well, now the only construct you're aware of is a fucking pine box, 6 feet underground. You're living in it forever. Rotting corpse.
They were raped before being killed.
Of course, yeah. These wonderful, beautiful, misunderstood Muslims, they're not bad. It's just the evil Western colonial imperialists have spread propaganda that they're evil. And of course, if they had survived, you know what they'd be saying. Well, it wasn't their fault. They were made to be that way by the cruel, evil, colonial, imperial white man who invaded their country and created that hate and filled them with the violence that they thrust upon us. It's not their fault that they tried to kill us. It's Whitey's fault.
Yeah, the same way that when Muslims invaded Europe, they raided all the Christian villages and pillaged everything and killed millions of white people.
Oh, and they took millions of slaves, too. This is the interesting thing. You have these black people complaining. Hey, blackies, do you understand that only 300,000 slaves were ever bought from Africa over the entire history of America up until the end of slavery from Africa? Meanwhile, Muslims kidnapped and enslaved millions of white people. My ancestors. You see me complaining and asking the Ottoman Empire for fucking reparations. The Ottoman Empire don't exist anymore, of course, but go to Turkey. I could go to Turkey. Yeah, why did I go to Turkey with a big fucking sign? Hey, I'm white. You oppressed me. My great, there's so many fucking greats, I can't say them. Grandfather was a slave in the Ottoman Empire. Give me some fucking reparations. You Sunni bastards. Yeah, they fucking killed me. I get my head lopped off right there. All these guys standing around with scimitars just waiting for some dummy like me to hold up a fucking placard saying, give me reparations. Yeah, the fucking prince is like, go out there, chop off the heads of anyone. Any white man, black man, anyone that wants reparations for slavery. Motherfuckers, kill them now, right away. I hold up the placard, and my head flies off my fucking shoulders. Like that.
One thing that Americans don't know is that Arab people from North Africa, they consider black people like monkeys. They're very racist.
Yeah, they're the worst people in the world. You see, that tells you what the left really is. If you want to understand who people are and what they really are like, look at who they associate with. Look at who they associate with. Now, granted, I don't believe in the guilt by association, like my dad killed somebody so I'm responsible. No, that's bullshit. But what about my voluntary relationships? What if I'm voluntarily friends with a fucking serial killer? My best friend was Jeffrey Dahmer, and I still talk to him. Didn't he kill a bunch of guys and eat them and fuck their corpses? Yeah, but he's a really nice guy otherwise. There might be something wrong with you. Your moral compass might just be a little fucked up if you're best friends with Jeffrey Dahmer, okay? And so if you surround yourself with evil people, and they're your buddies, and they're your allies, in fact, in your fight, it just might be that your cause is an evil one, because all your fucking allies are evil people. It's just a thought. Just a thought. All right, my friend. I'm going to head out now. Thank you very much for calling in. It was nice talking to you.
Thanks for everything. Have a nice show, everyone.
All righty. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right. So that was Sith, longtime fan of the show. Oh, my goodness. I get real animated sometimes. Wow. Oh, boy. Talk about percolating the phlegm there. Oy vey. All right. So on that note, I think I'll end the show. So if there's... So on that note, I think I'll end the show. So if there's anything you'd like to talk about, please feel free to email me at admin@therealistphilosopher.com. That's admin@therealistphilosopher.com. Also, if you like the content, you'd like to hear me talk about some specific subjects, of course, the best way to motivate me would be to make a donation. So go to therealistphilosopher.com/donate. You can donate any amount you want. I post these shows thrice a week to my Patreon, so you can donate, a certain amount for each individual show, like 50 cents. That'd be like $1.50 a week. You can afford $1.50 a week, right? Or you could go to another Patreon. I have two, and donate once a month. I know most of you hate Patreon. Well, those of you who aren't leftists don't like how they stifle free speech. I signed up for Subscribestar. I still haven't heard anything back from them. Seems like they have a lot of hoops to jump through. I'll keep you posted, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I haven't heard anything back from them for like a month, and I've recontacted them again and again. So, yeah, donation platforms. They used to be a lot more ubiquitous now, not so much. So anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you can remember what that's from, then you might be as old as I am. And that's it. I am the Realist Philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.